Hi, I'm Laurie Dobson. Today is January 12th. It's Tuesday. I had posted an early video, but I'm going to do another one today. I'm happy to report that I have not been daunted. I do feel like a woman without a country that with all that's going on and the enormous push right now for everybody to line up behind condemning Trump and condemning those who went to the Capitol, all of those who went to the Capitol as insurrectionists and inciting a mob and rioting. Well, we can't call protests. We just can't call protest riots. We have to understand, if there's something that went out of control, that doesn't mean the whole protest is null and void. And there were 74 million people who voted for Trump. And I think that we have to recognize that no matter what kind of zeal people might want to, sort of use to throw pressure into doing something that they don't even understand necessarily. I think that there's this pressure that's building to try to force people to have an ego reaction and to push their own will over. It seems as though that's a kind of a thing that has to be looked at on either side. If the will of the people, the good of the people, is getting ignored in the fight, it's kind of like a divorce that gets contentious. When obviously we're not children. We voted for these people, or we think we did. We thought we had a say. But when you get the mommy party and the daddy party and they cannot come to terms, and you're in the middle of it, and you're just watching it, it just really does feel like, there's something critical going on. And then imagine if the child's there, with a fever, with that hasn't eaten, has been neglected, is not well. And then the parties ignore that the child is not being taken care of, not being deprived of vital things for that child's health. So rather than taking care of we the people, this has gotten into this insanity. And it did not help, I believe, that there was election fraud that has been completely denied. And the front page of the New York Times was very clear. Election officials find no evidence of election fraud. That's just bullshit. It was there, and there's just too much of it to deny. But you can deny when you have power. You can use your authority. You can use your ability to deny. And I think that Trump has had his share of abuse of his authority to try to get things to be done that have not worked well for Democrats. But I'm going to say it. I think that, the things he could have done, the ways he could have taken it if he had not been serious in his effort to try to be a president in his own mind, in his own way, and it did get the support of enough people that saw, beyond his personality, beyond his inept way of governing in many ways. I mean, he's not a great politician. He's not a great businessman. He was trying to lead people, to help them to see their country as great again. And there were some things he put in place that I just really didn't give him any credit for, because I've been looking at him through a lens, and I'm not going there anymore. I think that the problem is when you don't have a control on and the balance, a check of powers, the checks on power, that you can get that level of usurpation. So, I think there was a pushback by the Democrats saying, like Biden said, enough is enough. They want to have their day in court. They want to have their ability to control the country. But the issue I see as the most dangerous issue is not that there's this squabbling, there's this fighting, and there's this attempt to tar the other side with labels that are unhelpful. that go against Biden's call for unity and his efforts to tamp this down so he can get on with the business of governing in a new administration. The actual effort that's happening, I think now, that's become more of a concern is when you have the level of censorship that you're getting. That is a control from the outside, and to me, that is that censorship by the tech giants is asserting their own control here and letting everybody know they're in charge. They're going to be in charge of the inaugural proceedings. Apparently, they're funding it. They're putting it on. They're in control. Bernie has laid down in his tweet yesterday about because they've censored Trump should be removed. So he's showing his hand. He's laying his fealty at the at the feet of the tech giants. He said if he was removed from Twitter and censored, that was cause for us to understand that he should be removed. Just that. Okay, it doesn't. It's just because the tech giant said so. So that's enough to remove our commander-in-chief. And if he was to be removed, then there should be a reason, and that reason would have to go into an independent study. A nonpartisan examination of what happened, who was wrong, who was at fault, and then nobody wants that, because if you really saw a breakdown of what that was all about, you would see that there was a mass effort to move on the Capitol before Trump was even done talking at the White House. There appears to have been many things going on there. Many weird things going on there that just defy an easy description. So that doesn't matter though, because all you need is to seize the narrative, and that means whoever has the ability to control the media, which is all you just watch it. There is nothing. If you go to YouTube and try to go to all the different places where you can look and try to find different viewpoints on this, it's all one voice. It's all one voice. There is no opposition voice right now. There's no two sides. There's no debating this. They've decided that either Trump will be removed by the 25th Amendment, or he will be impeached, which apparently they believe they're going to have the votes for tomorrow, and they're going to do this impeachment. And whether they can push it past the Senate or not, who knows? They might do a censure, but they're not getting together until a day before the inauguration. So this was just a distraction technique, a distraction device. It's another way to avoid doing the work that this new Congress can do. Get together, decide what the people's needs are. This isn't about people's needs at all. I get that they didn't like the fact that the Capitol Guard, allowed a protest to storm there, and that's regrettable. I think that what happened here is that there's a revolution of the people when they're swarming to a Capitol building, even though they may have been torched and set off and incited and made worse by outside agent provocateurs, which I believe were very much knew what they were doing. You can see them in some of these videos. They move in a line, coordinated with backpacks full of things, and looking like the same way that the Antifa people in that protest the other day in New York looked on Sunday. If you see the video, I posted a video. There's a lot of active riot gear, active movement by people in riot gear in a parade calling for, I don't know, something about the Proud Boys. It was against Proud Boys or something. I believe people are going to be used now. They're desperate, and so they're looking for leadership, and we're vulnerable. So we are looking for some sort of guidance. And why I'm doing this video is I want to say your guidance has to be an internal guidance. It has to be. You have to be an adult here. We have to put a check on our own efforts to our own desires to try to malign and condemn other people that we disagree with. And that's always a mistake, because it means that we're not truly looking outside ourselves and our own viewpoints. We're only listening to our echo chambers that that feed back to us what we want to hear. It is hard to hear other viewpoints when they're so condemning. How do you listen to, say, a CNBC video of what they're saying when they're just taking their brush and painting it and blackening everybody? That's not in the spirit of America. It's just creating a divide, and that's heading towards civil war. And the fear that the other side will do the same thing. Well, we're the ones that can stop that. Right now, right here, right now, what we have to do is recognize what's going on. We're being used to divide and conquer. Who's doing that? Who are the people who are censoring us? Who benefits from this? When the people are disempowered, and that's what on the Republican side people are seeing, that there was a fraud, and I believe there was fraud, election fraud, but I've believed it since 2016 when Bernie was defrauded and inexplicably and didn't do anything about it. Or how about when Gore didn't allow the count in Florida to continue? He stopped it for whatever reasons. People can be pressured to do things that in normal times they'd have the stomach for, the strength for, the spirit for. I believe it's a real shame right now what's going on in this hue and cry, this mob that's now assembling to try to, AOC leading the charge and getting that freshman Cori Bush to want to try to oust all the GOP out of Congress, trying to say anybody that supported Trump ever is now a criminal, and to use the forces to hound these people. You don't really understand the beast that you're unleashing on the world. Why are people frustrated anyway? Because they've been disempowered. They've been Bernie has called it correctly. I mean, there has been this huge transfer of wealth away from us to benefit the powerful. And you can see these corporate giants, Big Pharma is rolling out what they've got 25 million coronavirus vaccines and over 8 million dispersed, if that can, or given, if you can trust the numbers. The press is on to freak us out, and when people are afraid, they tend to, do whatever they're told. They tend to retreat, and I don't think this is a time for retreating. This is a time for standing up and saying, I don't know what's going on. I don't like what's going on, but I'm going to try to find, ways to learn about this. There are ways to understand this, but we've got to stop trying to react and instead have a conscience and then act on our consciences, think things through and stay calm, but not to just join in these voices that I hear this immense social pressure right now on people. And take a break off of these sites. If they're after you to try to agree that Trump is a villain and that should be jailed or he should be hounded, the man was trying to get people to stand up and fight, and Bernie did no differently. I've heard Bernie call for the same thing, different language, but call for the right of redress of ways where people are not getting taken care of. And people aren't getting taken care of. When you have Nancy Pelosi say that she's not going to allow a $2,000 benefit that Trump called for because she didn't want it to be with him signing the checks. No way, that wouldn't happen. So she's willing to make people wait for that, and then throw the $600, and everybody knows that this is not going to work. I mean, what's going to happen here in 2021 with nobody getting any ability to have their business, with businesses being closed, with every bit of money going to Amazon, to Walmart, to big box, nothing going into the pockets of the people directly. We have to go through the government to get that means we're not independent. It means we're being enslaved. And anybody that's not fighting for people on their behalf to help them through their government, the government's means to help them, that is To me, that's a crime. And I believe Trump has stood up against Big Pharma and Fauci, who is their representative, who stands to make money on all of these things. From the beginning, he has. That's a pushback. That was a pushback by him. Howls of protest because of Dr. Fauci being America's doctor, according to the media. So do you believe the media? I don't know. Can you? Who puts them in charge? Who supports, the mighty media? Who's promoting the media? Who's benefiting by controlling our voice, by disempowering people? Well, anybody that wants our voice, anybody that wants to control us, wants to tell us what to think, wants to guide us through the media, through social media, it's all a concerted effort to let people think that they don't have any power, enslaved. And that is what is happening. Our country is being taken over by these powerful interests. We've known it. It's been coming. The income inequality and the power inequality is now being made very apparent. What you saw at the Capitol, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that was a revolution starting. People saying, I've had enough. And it's a dangerous time when that happens, because I believe that conditions for that have been set, so people will revolt. So even though we should revolt against things that are impossible, the fact that we are revolting can be controlled. It's called controlled opposition. Agent provocateurs, PSY operations, psychological operations, counterintelligence operations. I mean, the CIA is an old hand at this, having orchestrated these things in many places. The Virginia Newland, who was feeding cookies to the people who are trying to take down the Ukraine, and are meddling in other countries where our interests are oil. Number one interest, however, is the bankers who always start wars. All wars are bankers' wars is a video, if you can see it. It's a brilliant video. But anyway, so I've had my eye on this for a long time. When I ran for Senate, I've started a website that, I'm sorry, that is no longer up, but it was enduswars.org. If you can see anything from there, that we were from those times, and even before that, when I called for an indictment resolution against Bush and Cheney for war crimes, if they should enter calling for a town resolution to indict them. Which you can do. Citizens can. It is such a crime, a world crime, to be a war criminal, that any citizen can, if they see a war criminal, they can call them out and they can act on their own citizens' power to arrest, to call for the arrest, and to ask for support to indict people on these charges. Well, we're really far down the road from that. When I called for it in 2008, it was taken seriously, even though I had a bit of people kind of, my God, what is she trying to do? But people understood it. They don't understand it anymore. We're really we're so far down the road of corruption that people don't even understand what their rights are. They just see them taken away. They just see themselves disempowered, and they push back finally. And then when they push back, that's when they can be controlled more. And if you don't want to be controlled, if you want to keep understanding what's going on, there are ways to pay attention, and just don't believe the popular opinion. Don't believe people who are trying to get you to believe in something being evil without your own understanding of it. Follow your conscience, and follow your ability to plow forward, and to join with other people who are looking outside the box, outside the popular opinion, outside the rabble of people looking to try to organize you to become a mindless beast. Because what happens to mindless beasts when other people have the power? Sorry, but you know it's going to happen. And don't be one of those people. Use your voice. That is your God-given and your country-given ability, and you must defend it. That's my view today. Thanks for listening. Bye.